Okay, I think we are live and recording. Hiya Hinsters. Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome too. I'm doing it a little bit differently this time, so I might be looking like here and then there and then here and then there, but please bear with this. Yes, I'm Hinny, I'm a spiritual astrologer, and please do consider subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it and if you like what I do and if you'd like to support me. Happy full moon in Sagittarius and happy last leg of Gemini season. By the way, if you're a Gemini or a Gemini rising, you can currently get 50% off on a reading with me if you book your reading during Gemini season. Check out the details in the description box below. Also, let me know in the comments how this here Sagittarius full moon has been treating you. For me, it's in my 6th house of work and servitude, and it has been going down at work, but I digress. So this here video is a new take on my older moon in astrology video, as per one of you Hinsters requests. So this is a request video. And if you do want to check out that older video first, I will link it here and in the description box below for you. I won't be repeating the content here, but in the older video I did talk about some things like how the moon is represented in the natal chart and in astrology more broadly, and how it represents just some things such as madness, intensity, the clandestine, reactions, the mother, and so on. I also touched on how the moon is in fact the fastest astrological planet, faster than Mercury, and what that might mean in our charts. But let's talk more about some different stuff, shall we? Some of which you may not have heard of at all, or some that you may not have considered deeply, but which is anyway very rooted in traditional astrology and the more original ways, or some of the more original ways, in which the moon speaks to us and our lives and our spiritual experience. First of all, the moon is a benefic in your chart, and generally it brings better things, but it also rules fortune, its tides, and things like the ebb and the flow of your fortune, of your money often. And in your first house, this of course could make you an individual who is a fortunate person. Or in the second house, it could mean you would do well to make certain investments. Of course, please consider the condition of your natal moon as well as the sign it's in. I can help you with that, by the way, in a reading. For example, in Scorpio, the moon is said to fall. And so we could expect, for example, more adverse or futile effects, themes going on here. More of a Martian need to cling onto and claw back the fortune. The moon is also about the physical. Yes, the physical, the body and forms, shapes, the shapely. And in the first house then, yes, it can produce a lovely looking person or a nice looking person or seeming person, because the first house can also be about auras, not just the physical. It can produce a sweet boy, it can produce a beautiful girl, and so on. The moon also rules glass. It represents the fragile, the colorful, like a kaleidoscope, but also the sharp and the protective. In the 6th house, for example, bodily health could be more generally good when the moon is here. In the 2nd house, the moon could give a person whose life includes more beautiful investments in charitable causes or just nice things that they want to grow or that they want to see growing in their life, in their world. And also certain body parts like the left eye or the stomach or the breasts, the nipples, are all associated with the moon. So especially if the moon is in the 1st house, I would expect, yes, extra sensitivity in some of these areas. in that spiritual sense as well, spiritual messages coming through the media of these body parts. And interestingly, the moon also rules conception. And yes, this may be simply biological, maternal, feminine conception, but it also comprises the conception of ideas and things that are reflections of the native's world view and the things the native is into, especially if the moon is in the first house or the third house. Now, it's interesting because the first house trines the fifth house, and the fifth house is often associated with children and things that we produce or put out there in the world. So it's quite interesting that the moon is associated with conception, and that people who have the moon in the first house, for example, they may have a lot of things to conceive. You know, the moon is, of course, however, quite fickle. So many personal projects, for example, or grand visions can be sort of flashes in the fancy pan, or some of these things are not pursued due to fear or hesitation. And yes, the moon also rules things like travel and wandering, and it also rules cities. So we can expect the moon in the first house people, for example, to move a lot, move house a lot, move country a lot even, or to have lived abroad for a stint, to have traveled abroad a lot, or to be seemingly mysterious and aloof as well, wandering and flowing and ebbing like the moon, like water. And they can also enjoy these busy, bustling places like cities, while also, quite interestingly, being more introverted or reserved, or just going with the flow of that city or busy space. Pisces is said to be associated with the moon card in the tarot. So there's quite an interesting connection there as well. The moon, and I always call the moon Pisces' secret second ruler after Jupiter. The moon also rules boats, and I find with moon prominent people, we often find a romantic affiliation with the water, or with boats literally, or with traveling on the water, living by the water, or being a bit sort of like blues-y, if that makes sense, being sort of romantic in that musical, creative sort of way, being just simply moved by the water, as being by the sea or by the river. And the moon rules the crab. So people with prominent moons in their charts can be wavering, sidestepping like the crab, indirect, or can have seemingly out of the blue outbursts, but really quite often these outbursts are like the result of a longer period of dodging, of tactics, or of retreating from some person or something or some situation. So there could be like a crab, a lot of maneuvering and moving before there's like an actual attack, or before there's that chariot card in the tarot, decision to take control, take the reins, to go down a path. The moon is also ruler of goddesses, queens, and mistresses. So with a moon in the first house or third house, for example, especially, we can expect these natives to be perceived in some way as these feminine forms. Housekeeping, nursing, and caring generally also fall under the reign of the moon. And we are to take care not to offend this caring nature or power of the moon, because it can just as easily bring about this cold-hearted callousness. Callous sounds really interestingly just like careless. I wonder if they share the same root etymologically, but callousness. And again, we can easily be attacked by this, and it seems surprising, by the surprising claw of this ruler of the crab, that is the moon. Of course, on a softer note, the moon does also rule marriage and harmonious living together. Again, just that niceness, that sweetness that we like in people often. And moon prominent people can be some of the sweetest people that we meet, or that we have around, or that we choose as committed partners, and also those who are emotionally intelligent. The moon is also associated with older siblings, and so of course the moon prominent natives among us could literally be the oldest sibling, or carry significant maturity despite young age, or from a very early age there was this maturity about them, similar to having Saturn in the first house, for example, or the third house. So anyway, where do you have the moon in your birth chart? And would you like me to make a new series on the moon through all the houses in the chart? Let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you again. See you soon in the comments as well. I reply to all of the comments. Keep safe and well, and tune in again for some more astrology videos. I love you very much. Bye-bye.